Michigan. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
The rumor mill is spinning. I don't think there's too much weight to the rumor, but the Urban Meyer talks have been making their rounds. Hardball now officially on the hot seat after taking an absolute shellacking to Wisconsin last week. I mean, that might be the most embarrassing loss Michigan has had since the App State loss. I mean, at least the App State loss was, I don't know which one I would rather have.
I'd rather have the App State
Wisconsin was
loss.
bad.
This one
Yeah,
was
this
really
was
bad.
bad.
This
This was
one
bully.
looked demoralizing, and it was the end of their savior essentially.
Yeah, I mean,
And there's nowhere to turn from here, pretty much going out.
Wisconsin looked like a freaking playoff team, to be honest. Like one of the most dominant teams out there against a Michigan team who everybody, I think for the most part, thought was going to be pretty competitive this year and has turned out to be an absolute dud, especially offensively. The defense has not been very good. It's a bad situation up in Ann Arbor that I did not foresee coming. I thought there was a chance that they wouldn't win that game, but I didn't think it was going to be bully ball up and down the field on both defense and offense.
I didn't expect things to unravel like this. Now, granted, I expected it to be a typical Michigan season where they went where they went 10-2, and two of their losses were against the big dogs, whether that be Michigan State, Wisconsin. Actually, Wisconsin wasn't even in my realm of thinking at the beginning of the season. It was either going to be Michigan State, Ohio State, or Notre Dame. They were gonna go 1-2 against those teams. Now, I mean, they just look like they don't want to play for Harbaugh anymore either.
Yeah, and it also just looked like it was weird because Harbaugh has had these games where it does look like he's just been completely unprepared. Ohio State game last year, for example, where Ohio State just absolutely thrashed them. But to have it this early in the season against a team in Wisconsin who you know what they're going to give you. They're going to give you a strong run game, and they're going to give you a strong defensive front. It's not that hard to game plan against them, and Michigan just couldn't get anything going, which normal logic would say your season isn't over yet. You still can play the upset role. You still got Notre Dame on the schedule. You still got Ohio State on the schedule. So if you win those two games, you'll win out. You might have a chance to play in the Big Ten Championship, and you could still potentially play yourself into the playoff depending on how things unfold. But this team doesn't even look like they're going to be able to compete in those games. I mean, it looks like the rest of their season, I think they might blow out Rutgers because they typically do that, but at no point am I confident to say that any game the rest of the season, even the Rutgers game coming up this week, do they look like a team that could run away with a game or even close out a close game? So Michigan does not look like they're in a position, and to be frank, I think their season is done unless there's some huge change offensively and things start to roll.
No, I think their season's done too. I mean, one of the biggest things is Wisconsin. You know what you're going to get from them. They're going to run the ball up the middle. Now, they do have the greatest running back in college football right now in Jonathan Taylor. But you know what they're going to do. You know they're going to run the ball up the middle, and Michigan didn't even care to stop them.
No, they flat out looked like they didn't want to be there. As you said, they didn't want to play for Harbaugh. They just lacked effort. There's a difference in losing with effort, and you can see it in a difference of just getting absolutely, from the moment you get off the bus, not feeling like that team wants to be there, and that was Michigan, which is odd, especially with – I haven't gotten that feeling from Michigan in the Harbaugh era. This is the first time where I can definitely say it wasn't so much they were just – in every asset of the game, they got beat. They got beat in the effort asset. They got beat in the preparedness asset. They got beat in the execution. They got beat at every single position. I mean, there isn't a single takeaway that you can say is positive for the Michigan Wolverines.
No, and it is crazy, too. There are some rumblings up in the Michigan media, and it kind of looked like that during the game, now looking back on it. But the whole Shea Patterson transfer and being promised a job has kind of caused some fracture in the locker room because, I mean, you had him getting beat up all game, and not a single offensive lineman was around him to pick him up after a hit, which is just unheard of. And so there was some rumblings at Ole Miss that people didn't like him. Now there's rumblings at Michigan that people don't like him. And him and Harbaugh promising Shea Patterson a job to come up there because that's the only way he's going to get him up here, let's be honest. I mean, it's pretty obvious for that. But that's one of the things that could have caused him to lose the locker room. And Even just watching that Amazon series from Michigan last year, it
Oh
is
yeah.
night and day the difference between John Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh. Even like a 10-minute conversation pregame prep talk, pep talk, it is night and day. He just looks like he has lost his mind. He looks like he's dazed and confused and doesn't really know where to turn from here.
Yeah, he looks like a man who's defeated. Like he honestly, like his brain has been broken. Like Michigan has broken his brain, and he looks defeated. To kind of quickly circle back on the Shea Patterson thing, I'm going to say hands up on that one. I bought into the Shea Magic hype early when he transferred up to Michigan. I did think he was going to be the game changer because I thought at Ole Miss he showed real big flashes of, oh, this is the guy, and the reason he was such a high recruit out of high school and all the talent. It's just he has no team around him. He has no coaching structure to really make him blossom. And I thought going into Michigan with the talent they had been building in that pipeline, the coaching they had, I thought he was going to be good. I'm with you. In hindsight, and hindsight is 2020, it does not look like that was the right move. Now, Michigan prior to Shea Patterson, and even in the Shea Patterson era, their number one critique, it doesn't take that long to look back, was the quarterback position. The Michigan team was good in every other asset of the game, but they just couldn't throw the ball before Shea Patterson got there. And so the hype was real when you get this guy who's a top high school recruit who shows flashes of being good, comes in, you're going, okay, he's the answer, and he hasn't been the answer. And I think sticking with him and not opening, as you said, a true quarterback competition and having it really be open has probably been super detrimental to this Michigan team. And when we look back at the end of the season, not giving McCaffrey a start, who I know he got hurt at the end of that game, and Shea Patterson came in and did put up some points on the board. Not giving that true competition, I think either didn't motivate Shea Patterson the way he needed to be motivated, because he did look a little different when he came back in after being benched. And it doesn't seem like the team ever really rallied around a certain guy. And so I think you're right in the analysis there, that is super detrimental. Onto the Harbaugh fact, I don't know what you do. Coming into this game, I was saying you can't do better than Harbaugh at Michigan. And I still sort of believe that. I think Michigan is one of those programs, sort of like Notre Dame, where their prime is past them. They're not going to really compete in the new age of football. They're going to have sparks here and there where they look good. But overall, these teams that had really historic runs in the past are not going to be the dominant programs they are today. I think Michigan has a little bit of a better chance because they play in a super competitive market. They play in a super competitive conference, and they can still get some better recruits than I think Notre Dame's going to be doing in schools like that. But I don't know where you go with the Harbaugh thing. I don't think Urban's going to go to Michigan. That would be wild if he takes a year off from Ohio State and then goes to Michigan. That's why I don't think that's a possibility. But looking at the coaching landscape, I don't know where you go if you do fire Harbaugh. But if this season becomes a total loss, I don't know how you also keep him.
The funny thing is that Jim Harbaugh's on the hot seat from a national level. But if I check the newspapers up here in Michigan, not too many people are criticizing Jim Harbaugh. They think like they're just ready to ride this out.
That's a good point, because I'm down in Cincinnati. I don't have the pulse on the Michigan. It could be one of those situations, kind of like with Mike Gundy in Oklahoma State, where it's just like, hey, we're good with this. Whatever this product is every year, we're okay with it as long as it's not a complete. Because I think if you get to the end of the season and they just completely lose out, I think that narrative might change. But it could be very much like a Mike Gundy situation where you just have a job for life no matter what. Like, Gundy's never leaving. Gundy is Oklahoma State at this point. And Harbaugh might be, and you'll have a better tap into this, he might just be Michigan at this point. And this is what you're going to get, and you're going to be okay with kind of being mediocre to having flashpoints like last year where you're right on the cusp.
And we're back.
And we're back here.
Just the timer, no smoke alarm.
All right, it was just the time. Where we left off, we are back now, cutting back in. I think we've got a little cooking issue going on there.
There's no cooking issue. I just set a timer and it went off.
Either way.
Anyways, back to Harbaugh.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I do think some of the boosters up here, which is exactly who controls Michigan, will be just fine with Jim Harbaugh doing whatever Jim Harbaugh wants, whatever he wants. But Jim Harbaugh does not look like a man who is happy at Michigan right now, just because he looks lost. He doesn't like losing. No coach can like losing. So I could see it where he ends up taking a year off per se, and then going back to the NFL and kind of making that his motivation to change. But he looks lost up here at Michigan right now.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think in theory he thought this was going to be a great idea, but coming back from the NFL, where I think he's more of a natural fit, he realized, oh wait, but this is where he went to school. He has a legacy there. He's family's probably just getting settled and having a nice time up there and not having to move around a lot. There is sort of this guaranteed job. But I'm with you. I think at this point he cannot keep up with the new era of college. He can do recruiting. He's done a good job of recruiting, but he can't keep up with the schemes and the planning and everything that comes with being a college coach. And I think the NFL is much more the natural fit for him. And I do agree with you that he will eventually make that move.
Well, I do think he also thought it was going to be a lot easier. I thought he thought he was going to treat college like free agency, where he just gets the best players at all times. He can just turn them over, chew them up, spit them out, however he wanted to. And you can see it's kind of taking a toll on some of these players.
Yeah, his style I think does not go well with this new kind of era of college kid, and it's also not the Pac-12 where he can just bully ball the Pac-12. He's in a conference where his style does not dominate like it did in the Pac-12 because there's just a mismatch in complete style, where he could just bully teams because they were small up front or they were built for speed, where he was built for more just destroying your soul at Stanford, because they were just bigger, they were meaner, they could run the ball on you at will almost. They had good quarterback play, and they had a defense that could beat up kind of Pac-12 offenses. Not really working. It's a different style.
I was going to say, let's be honest, though. The Pac-12 is the Pac-12. I mean, they are a Power 5, but they're not. I mean, just watch it.
Well, I've got some thoughts on the Pac-12 here because I got a couple bets in the Pac-12 this week. But with that, it's a good transfer to get to our picks, I think, because